everyone. Welcome to our week 5 of our summer interview bootcamp. So today we're going to talk about decision making, the hard decisions you made in life or difficult ones. And we'll talk about why employers want to know the answer to decision making. But I want to share one anecdote about our interview bootcamp. For some of you, you might have already started the fall recruiting application process. Now, one of our candidates shared with me that last week, I think July 7th, was the deadline for Morgan Stanley's investment management internship positions application for recruiting deadline. So as soon as she submitted all the sort of questions and related files online, immediately the interview software is asking her to listen to a sort of random question, right, randomly generated by the computer, record the answer, and submit the answer to that question. So it's like a computer-based screening immediately after you submit your application. Now, this might be something new for Morgan Stanley this year. I didn't hear about this last year, but because our student has been participating in our bootcamp, so fortunately, she had a little bit of preparation on the question that was being asked. And the question that she was asked was, tell me about a challenge that you face in life and how did you overcome that challenge, which was exactly our bootcamp topic last week. So I want to share this to let you know that, just because it's fall recruiting, don't take it for granted and think this is not going to happen until the fall. As you start to prepare, as you start to apply for jobs, the answers that you have prepared now will come in handy in big ways, okay? So without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about this week's subject, why employers ask you about the decisions you made. Obviously, this highlights an important skill, which is your decision making. So when your interviewers ask this question, they want to find out what makes you tick. They want to understand how and why you made those decisions in life and provide certain levels of insight into your values, your integrity, priority, and thought process. Your answer oftentimes will demonstrate a fit to the company culture or team culture, and also it shows character and personality, right? So it's all about you. Sometimes these questions could be about simple decisions, right? The factual ones that you already made in life. For example, why did you choose to study in the United States? Why did you choose to attend this university or college? Why did you transfer colleges? And what drove you to choose your field of study right now? And why did you choose to study in a city or state, for example, New York City, Oklahoma, Austin, Texas, right? So all these could be sort of conversation openers as well as real interview questions. And I know when I was a campus interviewer for investment banks, I often ask the question, why this university, right? And I want to know how people made those decisions academically, career-wise, and what made it what made it important for people to look at the university and consider that the right step for their future careers. So why did you choose this university or major, right? Let's talk about major first. Explain how your major ties into your prospective job position, right? Make a connection to identify the skills you've learned in school through your major and how that's going to contribute to your future job or position. The interviewers are definitely interested in seeing how you can plan for your future based on the major you choose. And through this, talking about your major, you should focus on your strengths, right? Make sure to emphasize on skills that the companies are looking for. For example, I am currently a data science major. Through this program, I learned not only about artificial intelligence, machine learning, but I also gained important programming skills, for example, Python, or I do plenty of projects related to data visualization, right? All of these will mean that you're bringing valuable skills to the job. Talk about your future plans and what you can add and contribute to your company, right? You're working on a risk management initiative by utilizing data science. And what I have done in school will make me a good candidate because I have the technical knowledge as well as some of the tools that we can use to design the software or processes that can help manage risk. Be enthusiastic and be genuine, and that's definitely true across all the questions. When we talk about schools, why did you make a decision to come to the school? Talk about what makes your college or university a good fit for you, and how your choice of schools connect with your choice of career. For example, if you, let's say, for example, went to Georgetown or GW or American University, you can talk about, political science, and if you want to pursue a career in politics, international relations, and etc. And in DC would be a great place, right? Not only you have great schools there, but also DC is just such an ideal environment if you want to pursue a career in politics or non-for-profit or international organizations such as the IMF, right? Okay, so what you should avoid. Number one is reasons that don't jive with the job, and I don't need to elaborate on the job. I'm sorry, I don't need to elaborate. For example, the school is fun and has a party culture, has great sports. I mean, those are things that you can talk about at parties, but definitely not good for interviews. Highlight monetary compensation, again, a no-no. And one of the things that really shows a lack of leadership and independence is talking about how others are choosing your field of study for you, or because someone else in your family or immediate friend circle all did this, and you decided, hey, I'm just gonna follow their footstep and I'm gonna go to a certain school or pick certain majors. So that I've heard in real interviews, and that's a very big turnoff, I can tell you that. And for schools, I think it's important to avoid just talking about the ranking of a school. And also, I had this discussion with several people about someone related, like a family member who studied at a university. I think there's nothing wrong if you present it in the right way. For example, talk about your parents or older sibling who attended the school and what they like about the school, and you think that's the kind of value that that's very much in line with your own value, hence you want to be part of this family. I think that's fine. But if you were talking about it in an arrogant way, for example, our family has the tradition of only attending Ivy League schools or top 20 schools, and that could sound a little bit arrogant and sort of harder for people to connect with you. And the other thing is the only school that accepted you. I heard that answer as well, and that always made me feel a little bit weird. Like, okay, so what's wrong with you? And it just feels a little desperate. So come up with a good reason, right? I am sure that there are things about your school and your major that really piqued your interest, or there's something about it that fits your future career goals and or sort of goals in life, hence that become the top choice for you. So think along those lines rather than monetary reasons or because I have no other alternative, hence I just decided to come to the school. So let's take a look at a real example. What drove you to choose your field of study? And again, we always use examples from our students. And initially, I just want to tell you, they might not be the perfect examples. And after a little bit of discussion and working on it, almost everyone could come up with very nicely compiled answers. So take a look at this one. Last summer at China Development Bank, I had the opportunity to sit down and speak with Ugandan representatives in order to discuss the solar energy plant program. I learned how Chinese investments in basic infrastructure in Africa improved the general quality of life for Africans and how both countries benefited from the agreement. Also, I was eager to discuss how the benefits of the program extends beyond Africa in China because it would have significant impact on a world level. This discussion opened my eyes to international relations and global investments. I hope to work in the field of international development, particularly for Asian countries. As such, I found that Vanderbilt's combination of liberal arts education with business training provides a comprehensive education that is perfect for my field of interest. I hope to integrate the international studies with business knowledge such as finance and economics. This will help me further understand how to improve economic patterns for sustainable growth, right? So what I like about this is that this provides a very clear reasoning to why you choose the field of study. There was a story behind, it demonstrated the candidate's career interest and connected her studies to her future career goals. So overall, it's very carefully thought out, makes sense, and it's one of those answers that you look at it and say, okay, great choice of school that fits your career goals. Another example, what drove you to your field of study? Again, our student example. I was inspired to pursue a career in finance due to my involvement in an intensive educational program called Virtual Enterprise. In the program, I learned firsthand about the functions of the various departments within a company and the economic functions of the global economy. In the program, I was elected director of finance, in which I was the leader of the department and managed the financial information of our company. I was the leader of the department and managed I was responsible for various financial statements, and I discovered that I love to work with cash budgets, balance sheets, and accounting journals. My experience in the virtual enterprise was my first experience in business, and it opened my eyes to a whole new world of finance. Right. So again, I think it's very detailed about her involvement in the project, which supported her goals to pursue a career in finance. Right. So this same example, as I noted here, can be used as an example to talk about your project experience, your involvement in a project, your leadership experience. So overall, right, a good interview answer could showcase many good qualities of a candidate. So this one being one of them. Okay, so let's move on to, I guess, the next step of this question, right? We talk about decisions you made, and oftentimes you'll hear questions such as, tell me about a hard decision, a difficult decision that you have to make. So why do people want to ask you about the difficult situations and the hardest decisions you have to make? I think the key here is, number one, they want to see what you consider to be hard decision. They want to see if you have faced real challenges. And they also want to know your thought process and the outcome of your decision, right? Oftentimes your decision could lead to the success of a project or something, or it could also lead to failure, right? So if you succeeded, great. But if you failed, what did you learn from this experience? And how did you apply what you learned to what you're doing in the future, right? And then they're also trying to see your judgment and problem-solving skills. There are other ways that people can ask this question. And similarly, each week I've been highlighting what the subtle nuance could be. For example, this question, it could also be asked in the following ways. What do you do when you need to make a difficult decision? Okay, so the key here is the what do you need to do? And I think the interviewer is trying to ask you, demonstrate, how did you think this through? And how did you make the decision? What did you rely on, right? What kind of resources or help did you go ask for? Give me an example of your decision-making process. What is your thought process in working through a tough decision? Again, walk through the steps you've taken and why did you go with one solution rather than the other? Have you made a decision during a stressful situation and how did you go about it, right? So here you must present a stressful situation and people want to see if you can stay calm, collected, and focused during a stressful decision and your ability to handle stress. What's the most difficult decision you've made and how did you come to that decision? Were there problems that you encountered in a project? How did you overcome it? So if you look at the last question, it almost go back to our week 1 or 2. Give me an example of a project you were part of. Did you encounter any problems? Give me an example, right? So you start to hear overlapping themes of questions. And I think by week 5, we're seeing plenty of questions where one story could be used to answer multiple questions. And certain questions, you can start to kind of find similarities and merge those questions as well. So when answer the difficult questions, what are the things that you should avoid? Number 1 rule to me is do not ever speak negatively about anyone else. You can provide details, but please do not talk negatively or degrade your teammates. Do not exaggerate your experience and definitely do not lie. Because as seasoned interviewers, it's very easy for us to hear the inconsistencies in the story. So if you exaggerate, oftentimes I think you'll face challenges, then it becomes difficult for you to talk around that story. Don't be boastful or prideful. It's definitely important to be confident, but you don't want to come across as arrogant. Now, when you try to present the decision-making process, try to think of the STAR method we've been talking about over and over for the past couple of weeks, right? So what's the situation, task, action, and result? It would be silly for you to just talk about a situation, right? A difficult decision, but you, without providing the result of your decision. So what impact did that have? And how did you make those decisions? So make sure you use the STAR method to create a complete story for yourself. Avoid getting too personal. And unfortunately, I heard stories that are a little bit too personal as well. For example, people have shared when we ask, tell me about a difficult decision that you encounter. I've definitely heard stories of breakups or sort of having to move out of an apartment because a bad relationship with roommate. I think those might be difficult for you personally, but it's a professional interview. So keep the stories on the professional side. So maybe these stories can be kept for happy hour or drinks down the road when you get the job. But for now, no need to cross the line and share too much. So I'm going to give you an example of a difficult decision by one of our students, and we revised the story a couple of times. It's a bit on the longer side, but if you think about it, if you can tell people the story in an engaging way, it doesn't feel long at all. Okay, so and we clearly marked the STAR method, and let's just hear it out. Last summer, I was on a volunteer project with students from several colleges to teach English and math to high school students from low-income families. We were divided into teams of 5 to 6, each focusing on a group of students from certain school districts. My team lead was struggling to command and delegate responsibilities to members of our team. Our members were frequently confused and frustrated about the lack of direction, but they didn't want to confront our team lead. At the end of the day, many of the team thought that the purpose of the charity project was to help and not to make it a hostile environment. As a result, I noticed that there were some significant issues such as inconsistent teaching amongst members, different evaluation methods, and some questions not being addressed in a timely manner. The morale of the volunteers were low and the students were not enjoying the learning. So this is the background. Here, our student clearly highlighted the backdrop and what she is going to face in this situation. It's not a pleasant situation, right? The morale is low and your clients are not really getting what they're supposed to get. So here comes the action. I viewed the overall situation from a bigger picture and felt that the root cause was the lack of leadership. Without a strong leader that helps set the standard, other members are discouraged from contributing and making things better. This is her analysis. So I approached the team lead with my analysis of the team environment, the lack of standard and efforts, as well as the unsatisfactory result. I knew this might be perceived as hostile by him or other members of the team, but it was important for me to step up and voice my concern and try to push things the right direction. If we did not address the team issue, we would be failing those students whom we were supposed to teach and failing our teammates who were there to contribute. And I think here, what I like about it is that there's very clear process of how she came to the decision to challenge the team leader, right? You're here, there's a moral standard by this person. I want to be able to make sure the participants are learning and our teammates are also contributing. If we don't do that, we'd be failing those people around us. So I think there's a strong sense of moral standard and also the difficult decision that kind of created the backdrop of the story that I'm here to correct this, showed her leadership initiatives. So I relied on facts to prove my points and also recommended solutions to my team lead. I also kept the communication about the issue rather than about the individual. Fortunately, my strategy worked, and my team lead listened to my concerns and asked for my help to enhance the process. After the changes were implemented, the team culture became more positive. We were more efficient with our teaching and answering questions. The high schoolers also had much better experience. So here is the result, right? She discussed how her strategy, which I also like, that is about the issue. It's not about the individual. So you're not going in to say, you're not doing this well. Rather, it's about what the problems are, what the numbers are, and how we can help improve. So everything was kept on a very positive tone. And I think this really made her shine as the leader, right? The difficult decision she made and how she went about coming up with a solution that really changed the situation, that really changed the outcome. So let's see if there's anything else that I want to comment. Yeah, so I think the other thing is that it shows the maturity to focus on only the issue rather than the people. So there's on many levels, there's a lot of good material that showed who this person is and that if I were a hiring manager, I would definitely consider this person a mature, dependable, resourceful problem solver that I can trust to put on projects. Okay, so now we have talked about the question of decision making and how it can sort of cross the lane to be in project experience or leadership experience. It could also cross the lane of your strength, right? So do you have those stories in your little repertoire or in your arsenal that can be used to answer more than one question? And I'm sure you do. So find those questions that are truly good experiences and try to see if you were to use this experience to answer different questions, how would you tweak them subtly so that it can answer to the specific question the interviewers are asking. And the other thing is we're week 5 now. We're literally halfway through our summer boot camp. So I want you to really look at the answers you've put down so far and look at what type of question that you feel confident and what you don't feel confident, and ask yourself why, right? And sometimes it could just be the way of thinking, the way you present your stories. So if you do feel like you need help, contact us and make sure, let's book a class, a private class or a practice session, so we can help get those out of the way and in order to better prepare for you to interview. As I said earlier, we're sort of in the summer, quiet time of the summer, but fall recruiting has quietly started, right? So there are positions where they're accepting applications now. Some of them have already ended. Now, it's likely that you will get a question at the end where you need to record an answer immediately. So you really don't have time to wait. If you want to apply for that position, you gotta be ready with your interview as well. So with that, I am going to end the lecture for today. And next week, we're going to talk about your goals, career goals, and ambitions in life. And we're going to talk about additional examples. So please prepare ahead. And I will see you all next week. Thank you.